Okay, here's trade recap for Friday. I took two trades today, one break even and a win. It was NFP day, so the NFP uh, setup today was actually fairly clean. Delivered kind of slowly, start New York, but it ended up delivering nicely. I think in the end, just not as quick as it usually does. So let's go over Adrian, the range from yesterday. So going into Asia, I actually, because price opened down here, for me, I actually stayed up on Asia for a little bit to see if we'd take out these relative equal lows into this 15-minute gap to deliver higher. Because for me, I'm bullish up here. So what I was thinking is a move down into this relative equal lows to continue higher. We've got accumulation. So ideally, I wanted it to manipulate and then distribute higher. Never got that, which is fine. I always knew going into it that we did rebalance a range into EQ and displaced higher, so it wasn't super necessary for lower prices. But I didn't feel like this low was necessarily strong at all. So then Asia didn't really do anything. London continued higher, and then we're just really waiting for NFP, which we had a bullish NFP candle here, and we continued higher as expected. Let's go on to ES as well. So ES pushed into EQ of the range, got on 15-minute actually. 130, yeah, so 130 on ES. So NFP took out this weak structure here into, I believe, 4-hour gap and EQ of the range on ES. So first of all, what I'm looking at is we've gone into EQ, we've hit significant PDAs to see a delivery lower. We've got NFP low below and weak structure. But the only contradiction with that is my longer term bias. Obviously, I want to see these highs get delivered, and this swing low, especially on NQ, I see as strong to deliver these highs. And to be honest, not so much on ES, but on NQ, I think this should hold for this high. So that was the only drawback for me shorten. But the fact I had NFP low to target as just a short term draw, then that taking short to me was still valid. So the final distribution leg of NFP ended within the 4-hour order block to deliver lower 1 hour CISD here, like that. You also got a breaker. Don't really use breakers too much, but still look at and 12-hour RB. So price obviously comes out of that nicely with strong displacement going into 930, which is what I want to see. So for me, catching a trade to NFP low, I'm watching this range. Got NFP low there. And then going into New York, what I was mainly watching was 15-minute order block, which would have been the ideal. But I also was anticipating a premium short, purely just because if we got New York opening this deep down into the range near NFP low, it tends to just flush for the low, fairly aggressive. So I was willing to take a premium short, but off New York Open, me fly higher and into discount, which was ideal, to be honest. So the first trade was price traded into 705 of the range. We've got the 15-minute order block and a continuation lower. Once we got strong closures below from a bit of structure, we have 1 minute order block, but I believe it was the 3-minute I was mainly looking at. Yeah, 3-minute order block, which was perfect. 3-minute order block inside OTE of the range. I entered this trade. It's fine. Where I entered 10-point stop. I would enter there. 20-point stop like that. Which, let's have a look, covered most of the OTE range that I wanted to see. Going higher wasn't necessary really. So off the 3-minute order block to continue lower, also formed some failure swings here on the 1 minute, and which delivers into NFP low, got weaker structure below. So everything is going in the favor I'd want to see. We get a nice push down and break even after closures below here. And let's go on the 1 minute on ESHG because I actually added another mini to this trade. Where is it? No, okay. Let's have a look. Where is? Okay, yeah. This high here. Alright, yeah. So this high here, S&T this high and this high, going into a 15-minute gap or 5-minute gap on ES. So we've got S&Ts on protected structure. I believe that would deliver lower. So for me at this point, this high shouldn't be traded above, and if it did get traded above, it would hit my original break even. So the way I would scale into this trade to double my size, but never have more risk on the table. So I never expose myself to more than 400 risk on this trade. So at this point, I was break even, and my entry price here, and I want my new stop to be break even at this swing high. So what I do is I set a limit there, set one mini there. So I've got 1 mini here, 1 mini here, which then makes my combined fill up here. Okay. So then, as soon as I get tagged into the trade, I'm break even anyway. So now I'm in 2 minis, but I never exposed myself to any more risk. I'm still break even, but I'm just in with 2 minis to deliver lower. And as I said, if I wanted this high to hold, then as I said, I meant if this high got broken, then my original break even would have been hit anyway. So I essentially just added more size with no downside at all. So that was my first break even. Right. Get rid of this. Let's get rid of that. And then after that, price continued higher. And initially, what I was actually watching was the 15-minute order block, but I did want this 5-minute BPR. So once price traded back up into it, and especially the time it did it as well, which was the 9:45 candle opening. So this is our 15-minute PO3 candle, and this whole wick now is the manipulation leg for the 15-minute to deliver lower. So price sweeps this high into the 5-minute BPR. We're still in OTE, and we sweep the high. Okay, so now we've got this RB here, that should hold to continue lower. So price flushes down strongly, never breaks any of the structure, and just adds more failure swings. Okay, so I'm looking into the OTE of this range to see how I can take a trade. And price then trades into the RB, but I wanted a little bit more structure as ES was pushing a bit deeper into the RB. So once we got this strong down close candle, then formed an order block. Price traded into the order block. I set my sell stop at the opening price of the candle. And you can target NFP low like that. For me, I held the trade lower to see if I can catch this move here, because structure was on my side, displacement was on my side. I aligned myself perfectly with the 15-minute 9:45 PO3 and the 9:30 PO3. So I felt I was positioned correctly to let this trader run. But once NFP low did get hit, I did trail up here for the fill the 1 minute gap. So at least came away with something. Pressing comes into the 1 minute gap off of 10 a.m. Continues lower. This is now my new stop loss. Price then trades into 10 a.m. and 1 minute order block. Continues lower. My new stop loss is there. Price then trades into the 4-hour gap, and this was the only thing I saw that could reverse my trade. So what did I do when this happened? I then set my stop loss to NFP low. So essentially, I was still taking profits at my short-term DOL, but I was holding for a potential run of this low resistance. And obviously I got stopped, and then price continued higher. Okay, let's get rid of this. Go on the 15-minute quickly. And as you see, this high ended up with holding, and sort of just messed about for the rest of the day. But it is a Friday, so it makes sense. There's nothing really to go over for the rest of the day. I guess the only thing really was that price traded into the 4-hour gap from 10 a.m. was the correct way to trail the trade as soon as we saw the one thing that could reverse the trade back up higher. So that's why it's important to trail, especially when you're holding past a short-term DOL where you could take profits efficiently. Because even at this swing at NFP low, it's still like a 6 or like 7R. But seeing this as an opportunity to run these lows and the way I position myself in the trade, it was the correct thing for me with how my accounts are looking to hold the trade.